Right, so we're the morning of the big game, the first game of the season, Newcastle versus Liverpool at St James's Park. I'm not coming on here to talk analysis and break down the teams and so on and so forth. I'm literally coming on here the same as you guys. As a fan, I'm going to talk through what I'd like to see as our starting lineup and then essentially how I feel this morning, which is optimistic, excited, and fucking terrified all at the same time, if I'm honest. Nervous for this opening game of the season. What I'd like to see is Lucas Hornacek in goal, Lewis Hall at left back, Amar Dedic at right back, and then we've got the controversial ones to pick for these centre back positions. And Malik Chow, I think, is a must. But then left centre back, I'm so divided with this. I really want Dan Burn. I just don't trust Sven Botman in a game of this magnitude as an opener to the season, and I really feel like we need that. We need that leadership at the back, and I feel like Dan Burn's the person to be in there. Realistically, he's a giant. He knows what this means to the club. He knows what this means to the fans, and I think you need that Geordie. You need that Geordie roar in this first game, and I feel like Dan Burn's the guy to give it to us. What I believe is going to be our double pivot, in my opinion, is going to be Sean Sturr and Jacob Ramsey. I'm still really nervous about Jacob Ramsey sitting in a double pivot. I don't believe it's his best position. I don't really feel that he fits that role. I would love to see Lewis Miley in there, but I think it's just too soon and he's not ready for the minutes yet. I don't think he's up to full fitness. So I think it's going to be Ramsey that starts. And then going forward, if we're carrying on with this 4-2-3-1, which I think we will, I think it'll be Alanga on the right. I think it'll be Bazamana Toure on the left. That's who I would want, Bazamana Toure. I don't think Harvey Barnes has quite done enough in pre-season to satisfy the need to start. And I also think Barnes is better coming off the bench in that final 30 minutes. And then when it comes to the front line, what I believe it's going to be, I want to say Johan Wissa sat in the 10 role and Will Asula starting as the 9. I really would like to see Nick Voltemade play the last 30 minutes. When there's tired legs, when Van Dijk's run down, I believe we can get in behind Liverpool. And the biggest thing with this lineup is we have to be defensively well structured. We're playing against a good Liverpool side. I really don't want to see Alexander Isak bang a hat-trick in against us. This would be like the nightmare start to the season. But I believe there's weakness in Liverpool. I think both the fullbacks are ropey. I don't think Frimpong and Kirkes, they're both really attacking fullbacks. And I believe you get Bazamana Toure one-on-one with Frimpong and he's got a chance. He's got a chance of getting in behind and he's got a chance of making something. Whether we'll see Liverpool play Ajaro and Van Dijk at centre-back as a centre-back pairing, yet to be seen. I think it will be. Ajaro is very aggressive. He's very front-footed, but it also leaves weakness for us to be able to get in behind him. And he's physical, which is why I'd like to see Asula and Wissa as the two up front, because I think Nick Voltemade in this game would get bullied. I think he'd get bullied in the half space, and I think he'd get bullied as a 9. You've got two very physical centre-backs that realistically like to mix it up. They like to give that little bit extra. They like to put a marker down early and, rough up strikers. And I don't feel that we want Nick Voltemade in that space to be roughed up. I think when there's some tired legs, Nick Voltemade coming on in the last half an hour will give us options. And if we can get Jacob Murphy on at the same time and start putting some balls in to make it difficult for Liverpool, we could stand a chance. And I know a lot of people will come out and no one wants to give a prediction for the opening game of the season, but I'm going to do it. My heart is telling me we could get a draw here, a 1-1, or even sneak a win. But my head is telling me realistically, I think Newcastle will lose this probably 3-1. And I don't want to be too defeatist to start because I am optimistic of Geisler's era, but I just think he hasn't been given enough time yet to really implement the team structure, and I don't think we've got the squad depth to be able to handle Liverpool on the opening game of the season. It's ironic that we get Liverpool on the opening game of the season with a fit Alexander Isak. But most of all, I think this is more about the display. It's more about intent. It's more about how we come out and how we play rather than the result. Realistically, in my opinion, I'm writing the first 5 games off. I think, if we take anything out of the first 5 games, fantastic. But it's giving him time. It's giving Geisler time to come into this team and really develop a system that works. Because in pre-season, we might think we've seen a terrible performance, or we might think we've seen a fantastic performance, or we've seen glimpses of what could be. You never know until the opening game of the season, and you've only got to look at yesterday as those examples. The Mackems losing to Ipswich, fantastic job by Ipswich, and Hull beating Manchester United. Nobody would have seen opening day Hull beating Manchester United, but realistically, anything can happen on the opening day, and I think Newcastle need to go into this and not be scared, not be afraid, be front-footed, be confident in their ability. And if they are confident in their ability and they're confident in the system and they believe, anything can happen at St James's Park. We've seen this time and time again. Massive clubs have come to St James's, and realistically we can tear anybody apart on our day. And hopefully the biggest thing, I think, is settle into the game. If we concede early, I think heads will drop. I genuinely think we'll struggle if we concede early. That first 15 minutes has got to be the marker of not conceding a goal. First 15, 20, keep it tight, play your game, get the ball down and try and play. And today will be a really tough game. Liverpool are a top side, no one's denying that. But they do have weaknesses. And for me, the biggest thing, having seen them pre-season, is they're not at their level yet either. They don't look match fit either. They don't look like they can play rock and roll, high press football for 90 minutes. But neither can Newcastle. So this is going to be literally a battle of wills, and it will come down to who wants it more, and the nerves and the confidence. And this is where I feel Newcastle, if we go into this game with a couple of leaders on the pitch who can really fucking lift players when they need it, we might be able to come away with something. And like I say, let me know in the comments what you guys think, because this is it's great. Football's back. I couldn't be happier. The Premier League's back again, and we've already seen some upsets. We've already seen the nature of the Premier League. You can't predict any game. You never know what's going to happen. But at the same time, the nerves for this match, I feel like the embodiment of Kevin Keegan about Man United. Like, I would genuinely love it if we can beat Liverpool. I would love to stick one to Alexander Isak. I would love to keep him quiet. But this, I feel, for Alexander Isak is probably his make or break season. This is the season that defines whether he was worth that money that Liverpool paid for him. And he will be as up for it as he possibly could be to try and stick one against his old team for all the abuse that we've given him, or how he feels that he wasn't the rat that we think he is for leaving. But where I feel that Newcastle have the advantage going forward is, like I say, the fullbacks press so high. This defensive line is not what it used to be. Virgil van Dijk is ghosting in that defence. I think Van Dijk was not at the level 2 seasons ago. So when they won the league, that was his final curtain call. He should have been gone at the end of that season, and they should have looked to renew and replace in the same way that we didn't. Van Dijk is not the leader. He's not the player that he once was, and there is gaps to be exploited in that defence, especially for his pace. He reads the game well, but for his pace, Will Asula can get in behind him. I think both wingers, Alanga could get past Kirkes, and I think Bazamana Toure could cause problems for Frimpong. We just have to be tight in that centre midfield. Liverpool have technically gifted players. They're going to have Wirtz want to play in the half space just behind Isak, and he could create us problems. Realistically, for me, you have to close Alex Isak. You cannot give this guy an inch today. And I think Dan Burn is the man to do that. I think Dan Burn's the guy that will rough Isak up. I think he's the guy who will be physical enough to stop him. We just have to make sure the gap in between our defence and midfield, we have to close those spaces. We have to defend for our lives. We have to play like this means everything to the players. Let me know in the comments your score prediction. Let me know if you'd like to see different players start or somebody you think could affect the game more than the team that I've picked. And like I say, guys, I'll be back on after the game to do a match review. But let me know how you're feeling. Are you excited? Are you optimistic? Are you as nervous as I am? But roll on 4 o'clock when we get to see Matthias Jaisler's opening Premier League game. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully I'll see you later on. And fingers crossed for the tune.